In this section, you create services and pages for the Products Starter project. Let's get an overview of what you will be creating. You're going to create the product service, which is responsible for making RESTful API calls and returning back JSON data, and we'll use the product model to convert the data back into a more readable format. You will create the product viewer, which uses the layout builder to return back the correct layout, whether it's phone, tablet, or web. You'll create the product list page, which will return back a list of products, and also with search capabilities, using a sticky header delegate to be able to search for products, which will be called from the shared package. You will create the product detail page, which will have a horizontal scrolling list of network images, and we will also show the optional Change Magic Observer class, and we'll see what kind of usage you can do with that. You will also create the product list detail split screen page, which will have the split screen layout for tablet and web layouts. All right, it's time for some live coding. All right, it's time to create our product service. So let's go ahead and go to our lib folder, right-click, new, Dart file, and we'll call the folder services. And then let's call the file product service. Perfect. Now I'm going to collapse the sidebar here, and let me paste in the code so that you don't have to watch me type in all this code, and I'll explain it as we go. And it's very similar to the user service, right? Let's go ahead and see here. Our constructor product service, once it gets initiated, what does it do? It calls the clear product list, right? We want to start from a clear list. The product server has what? A stream controller, because it's very reactive. And it's a stream controller of what? That's right, you guessed it, a list of products, right? And then we get two gets, the sync to add the products list, and the stream, of course, of list of products, so that we can listen to the product list stream. And then we have a private list of products called product list. And let's look at the dispose. So as good citizens, once we're done with the service, the dispose is called product list controller.close. We'll close it and take it out of memory. What's next? The add product method, right? So it adds the products to the list, add all the products that were passed in, which was a list of products, and then the add product list, which is the stream controller sync, and adds that list to the stream controller. So that way anything listening to the product stream will be able to retrieve them and show the new list and any changes. And this is also refresh current list topics. The application does not use it, but I added it here just in case in the future you want to just refresh the current list. And then we have the clear product list method. All it does is empties the list, right, of products and adds the product to the stream controller as an empty list. So the stream controller add to the sync an empty list. The listeners have now a blank list. And the last method here, which is a future of that's right, a list of products, right, called get products list. And let's just expand this, right? We have a result body. API service gets called for the RESTful API. We call the get search, and this is where, that's right, it's located where? That's right, in our share package. We pass the URL for the products, retrieves the products in, puts in the result body, converts it from raw JSON, right, to a list of products from our model. And then we say, hey, if the result is empty, in other words, hey, we didn't get anything back, something went wrong here, we'll just give an error code. Otherwise, we'll add the products, which are the results, and we'll return the results. Excellent. Let's close this, and let's create the product detail page. We'll say new.file under pages, of course. We'll call this product underscore detail. And let's collapse. I'm going to paste in the code here and save it. And let's take a look and see what we have. We have a stateful widget, right? And we have one final field that is being passed in, which is a product, right? So when the user selects the list, selects a product from the product model gets passed in here. We have all the details of the product plus the list of all the images for that particular product. Let's expand our state class here. And what do we have? So we have an app bar, right, in our build. And it's just basically the product title. Okay? Let's collapse that. And the body, as you know, I like to use the safe area. We have a single child scroll view. So that way, if you have more data that fits on the page, it automatically scrolls so that you don't get those little yellow and black stripes that says, hey, your content doesn't fit on the page. So I really do love using single child scroll views. Let's look at the column. What do we have in our column, right? We have children here. So first we have a size box. And the size box has what? That's right. Got the list of images, right? Only here in the products, it's a list of images. In the users project, you only had a single image. So what are we doing here? The height takes from the shared package, right? The image sizes, right? And what does it do, right? It gives the image height. So we want the image's height to be that 350 pixels that we defined in our shared package. The child, it's going to check first and says, hey, let's collapse this, okay? It's going to say, hey, if the list is not empty, show me a list, and I like to use separated, right? And I am placing the scroll direction to horizontal. We want to view the images horizontally. In the item builder, it says a context, right? Build context and an index. So it's going to return the image network. It's going to look at the list of images, and as it's going through the builder, it's going through each list and doing the index and placing each image horizontally, right? And if the image is large, we like to use a loading builder like we did in the users product, right? Same thing. We show a circular progress indicator if it's still loading. Otherwise, just return the image if it's already loaded. Excellent. And what do we have? The separator is just a size box with a width of 3. I just wanted to separate the items with just a little empty space. But if we have no images, right, if it's not empty, that means it's empty. We're just going to show an icon, in this case, the factory. You can see the factory icon with a size of 128 pixels. So what's next? This is going to be now the details. We have the list of images, right? We have padding here of 32 pixels. And what do we have in our column, right? We have 4 different text fields. So let's take a look at each one. Okay, so we have the title, the category, and then we're saying, hey, the price. If the price is greater than 0, then show the price. Otherwise, just show a blank number, okay? And then the ratings. So if the ratings is greater than 0, show the ratings, from 0 to 5. Otherwise, just show a blank. And that's all there is to the detail page. Now, after we create the product list detail split screen, and the product viewer, I'm going to come back into this product detail, and I will show you how to use the optional change metrics observer to change for size changes of the detail page to do any other things that you would like. It's completely optional, but I wanted to show you how to use that. And let's close this down. All right, let's create the product list. So we're going to pages, right click, new .file, and yep, you guessed it, product underscore list. Let's collapse our sidebar. I'm going to paste in our code, and I'm going to save. And let me just collapse everything. Let's take a look at what we have, right? We have a stateful widget, which contains what? So the constructor has Boolean is mobile, whether this is running on mobile device or not. It lists the product list, which is a list of products, right? And the value notifier, which you know I love to use, the product detail notifier, which the value notifier is a type of, that's right, product. So every time the product gets changed, the list, right? Anytime the product gets changed, the value notifier is going to notify any listeners and they will rebuild accordingly. And the value notify builder will only rebuild the portions that are needed. Very performant. And let's take a look at the state class, right? So what do we have? We have a widget, right? We have the build method under the state. And what are we doing here? We're saying, okay, this is the list, right? Are we running on mobile? So we say K is web. If we are running on web, what are we doing? That's right. We're doing the nested navigator because we want to insert the navigation from the product list and not from the root of our application. Okay, so we're inserting the nested navigator into the widget tree at the point where the product list is. And what do we got here? So what are we returning? A material page route, right? And we're returning the product list customer scroll view, which I'll show in a little bit here. And this is basically the list, right? And we're going to pass whether it's mobile, the product list itself, right? And the product detail notifier, okay? So if it's web, we're going to do the nested navigator. If it's not web, we're going to just pass the product list custom scroll view and we'll navigate regularly from the root because this is mobile, okay? All right. So now let's take a look at our product list custom scroll view, right? Which is just another stateful widget. Let's open up the class. And we're passing on the same things as before, right? The is mobile, the product list, and the product detail notifier. Okay. So let's take a look at this here. Let's expand. One thing I want to show here, we have a private search list of products, which we just say it's a blank list right now. It's a list of products, right? Is the search visible? False. And the text editing controller, which is the search editing controller, right? And then we have a method, right? Where we have a set state. What does the method do? So if we are searching, we pass the filter. So in other words, the letters that the user is typing in, and we say, okay, the search product list equals the current product list, the whole list that we got back. And we're going to say where the product title, right, contains the filter that is being passed in. And we do everything to lowercase so that we match everything correctly. And what is the build method going to return? Okay. So we have the sliver app bar, right? We're just going to have deleting here is what? A circle avatar with the icon button. The button is just a menu, which what? Just shows an about dialog. You know, just a default dialog that tells about the application. On the right side, we have the actions, right? We have a little padding, and we have a circle avatar with an icon button, right? The icon is just a little search. And on press, what do? We do set state. We do two things. We say, is search visible? Not search visible. So if it's visible, we make it false. If it wasn't visible, we make it true, and so on, okay? So it always, if it's true, it makes it false. If it's false, it makes it true. So if the search visible equals false, then what do we want to do? We say search editing controller, value should be blank. When you first search, you want it to be a blank value. Otherwise, here, we're also going to say, hey, the search product list equals the product list. Okay, very straightforward. Let's close the action. So that's just responsible for what? For searching. You click the search button, and it'll show the search for us, okay? And these are just a little bit of what the expanded height is, the height of the screen divided by 4, and so on, the flexible bar, right? I like the zoom background, the fade title, the text is going to be product viewer, with a little formatting, little shadow on the text, right? little offset, just straightforward. But the title is the product viewer. Let's collapse that. And then we just have a little padding, right, of about 4 pixels. Now let's take a look at the search. Because if the users click search, we're going to have a sliver animated opacity. If the search is visible, then yeah, hey, we want to show it. If not, we want to fade it away to 0 opacity so it doesn't show. We're going to use a 300 millisecond duration to show the animation with an ease in. The sliver is going to say, all right, is the search visible? If it is, that's right. We're going to show the sliver persistent header, which is what? A search sticky header delegate, which was created in the shared package that we created. And we present the search editing controller and the search changed callback function. And we're going to pin it so when the user scrolls the list, the search, the sliver persistent header, goes to the top and stays on the top, always visible. Otherwise, we show a sliver to box adapter of what? Just a size box. In other words, we don't show anything. And that's the search. And next, we have the sliver list separated, right? So we use a list title. Let's show the text here on the tab. So let's bring it up here. So what do we got? Item count, is search visible? If it is, the item count is going to be what the search result is. Otherwise, it's going to be the product list of all the items that we have. The list title, the text. If the search is visible, we show the title from the search list. Otherwise, we show the title from the regular product list. And when we tap, what do? We're saying, hey, product detail notifier on the detail side, right? Remember, if this is on a tablet, a desktop, or a web, we want to refresh the split screen. So we're going to say, is the search visible? If it is, show the search product list. Otherwise, the widget product list at the current index, right? But if it's mobile, what are we going to do? Yeah, we're just going to navigate to the detail screen, right? We don't need to show anything on the right because the split screen is not available. So we do the regular navigator and navigate to the product detail screen. And we're saying, hey, if it's search visible, then pass the search product that was selected. Otherwise, pass the product that is on the regular product list. Okay? And the separator is just a plain divider. Excellent. And I'm just going to close this down. Okay, let's open up the sidebar. And it's time to create what? The product list detail split screen. So let's do that. This is for our tablets, right? Desktop, right? Or the web, right? So split screen. So we're going to create the product list detail split screen. And let's collapse the sidebar and let's paste in some code. So you don't have to see me type it in. So this is a stateless widget, okay? And what are we pasting in on our constructor? A product list, which is a list of products, right? A list of type of products. And the value notifier, which is a type of product called product detail notifier. And let's take a look at the build. Remember, this is now the split screen, right? Because now we are on tablet, right? We're desktop or web. So the left side is going to have a list, which we're going to have in a size box, right? And we size is just going to be the sidebar width, which we created from the shared package, right? Which is 320 pixels wide. And the product list, right? We're going to pass the product list widget is mobile. False. This is not mobile. This is a split screen. Product list and the product detail notifier. And we just have what? Just a vertical divider. And what do we have? A vertical divider with a width of 1.0, right? So that you can see the split. And then the details. What have we got on the details, right? We're going to use an expanded because we want the detail to be fully expanded to the area available. So what do we got here? Let's bring this up here. So we have the value listenable builder, right? So it's going to rebuild only when the product detail notifier changes, which means what? You selected a new product. Hey, hello, detail screen, redraw yourself. And the builder has a build context, right? A product and a child. So let's review what's inside, right? The product detail widget. And we pass the product. Excellent. And that's the product list detail split screen. And I'm going to close this down. Okay, so it's time to modify and finish the product viewer, right? So what do we have here? We already have a stub here, right? And we're returning what? A placeholder. So we want to add a few things here. And I'm going to paste some items so that you don't have to watch me type this in, okay? So let's do this. I'm going to paste this in. And let's bring in the connection service, right? From the shared package. Bring in the product service. And we have here what? From the models, right? The product model. Very good. So let's go over it. What do we have here? So we're going to have the connection service, right? And then we're going to declare here the product service. And then we have the value notifier of type product, which is the product detail notifier, right? So when the product changes, the details changes, the notifier is notified, and then it redraws and shows only the parts that were changed, the product. And we're going to give it a default value of the blank default values of a product, right? The value notifier type of product. And then we have a Boolean that is keeping track whether the search is visible. Defaults to false. Okay, we have our init state, right? As good citizen, we always do the superinit first, and then we initialize our own services. So we initialize the connection service, and we pass what? The product service clear product list, and the get product list. And we're going to check if the connectivity is available before we retrieve the products, right? So we're going to say, all right, is internet connection available? Checks, right, from the shared package, right? And if it's available, it continues. If not, it will show a message, hey, no internet connectivity found. And then it sets up a watch to watch the connectivity. So as we work, if the internet connection changes, we're able to display a message, oops, we lost internet connectivity. And then, as good citizen, we have the dispose method. And in the dispose, you always do the super dispose last. And our dispose methods go first. Excellent. So now what do we want to do here? So we want to really return a scaffold here. We want to remove the placeholder. I'm going to paste it in. And let's open this up a little bit, okay? And let me just import from the shared package, right? The responsive layout builder. Okay. And let's just bring in the product list, the product detail split screen. Excellent. So let's take a look at what our build method has so far. And then one more thing, let's bring in from the shared package a status message. Okay. Very good. So what are you doing first? Scaffold. You know, I love to use the safe area. Top. I don't want to have a safe area. I want the image to go all the way to the top. We use the stream builder of a type of what? A list of, that's right, of products. Initial data is just an empty list. And the product list stream, every time it changes, the stream builder rebuilds the list for us. We have the build context and the async snapshot, which is, that's right, a list of products types. So what are we doing first? First, we're saying if the snapshot has data equals false, in other words, hey, we don't have any data yet, show circular progress indicator saying, hey, we're loading, wait for us. But if the internet connection is not available, let's show a status message saying, hey, internet connection is not available. Banner message, you're going to say, nope, not available. And the banner color and the text color. Of course, you can change those to your likings. So if we pass those if statements, that means we have data. So we're going to have a list of type of product list. And we're going to initialize it to the snapshot required data, which is what? That's right, a list of product types. So the responsive layout builder, and let's expand it, right? This is really what's responsible to say, hey, is this mobile? Is this web? Is it desktop? Is it tablet, right? If it's mobile, it'll press the product list. Is mobile is true, say, hey, it's a mobile device, so do your navigation correctly. Product list and the product detail notifier. If it's a web, desktop, or tablet, then pass the product list detail split screen widget instead, and we're passing to the constructor. That's right, same thing, the product list and the product detail notifier. Excellent, and let's close that down. So let's run the application, the products application. Let's run it on mobile first and see how we're looking. Hide that. Oh yeah, I love it when everything works. Search. Yep, look at that. Searching good. MA, that's looking all good. And it's coming back up. And do the search, right? Sticks to the top. That's excellent, right? And here's the list of all our items. And we can, very responsive, right? Everything still works. That's excellent. And it knows that it's running on mobile and it's working accordingly, right? Excellent. So now let me just stop that. And why don't we run this on the tablet? There we go. All right, let's run it. See what we get. Just close this down. And this should run here in a second. Oh, yes. Okay, very good. Let's pick some items. Yes. Oh, yes. And if we search, sticks to the top. Maybe we just want the iPhones, and here we go. It goes away. Still working. About screen. Scroll. All working, right? Perfect. Excellent. And now let's try web. So we'll run it on the web here. Okay, so it's running on the web. Everything is looking good, right? We can scroll, search. Everything looking good. Surface. Everything is scrolling. So now let's try to resize, right? Oh yeah, working mobile. Working really good, right? Still doing it. So let's say we resize it. And it knows it's now resized to split screen, right? So it's working all perfectly the way it should be. Let's take a look at changing from light to dark theme and also the internet connectivity. So let's switch to dark theme. We'll go back. Beautiful. And it's working as it should with dark theme. Let's switch it back. Go back to light theme. And the app is using whatever the system has. What if we lose internet connectivity, right? Let's just go into airplane mode to simulate it. None. Internet connection is not available. Excellent. So let's bring it back. And it should bring back the list for us. And there it is, working perfectly. Let's open up the product detail page. I would like to show you how to use the optional Change Metrics Observer. And let's add that widget above the single child scroll view. Right click and show context actions. Rep with widget. And we'll say Change Metrics Observer. As you can see, it's bringing it from our shared package that we created, right? And it says, oh, wait a minute, we got some issues here. That's right, because we need to add the required arguments. Let's do that. Enable Observer. Yes, we want to enable it only if it's web. So we'll say K is web. Okay? And then we want one more item, which is the did change metrics callback. And if you go here, it's going to say, hey, you need that one too. So let's add that. And let's just make this easy. This could be all sorts of stuff. You could do navigations. You could stop something. You can show material banner, right? You could show its snack bar. I'm just going to do just debug print, okay? So we're going to say if is web, right? If when it's running this is web, what do we want to do? Let's say a debug print. And let's just print out the size of the screen, right? We'll do $, curly brackets. So let's say media query, size of, context. Let's just say the width, right? And let's close this. All right. So what we'll do, let's run it on the web browser here, and let's see what we get. Excellent. So I'm going to bring this over, and let's just resize, right? This is web, so we should be getting something. Oh, here we go. And you can notice we can only shrink up to 619 pixels on my screen right now. But as you resize, you can see that Change Metric Observer is working, right? But what happens if we say, hey, enable observer is false, right? Let's just say this is false. Just say false. So in other words, we don't want this to observe. We'll rerun it, right? And what happens now? Look at that. Nothing is happening, right? So our change metric observer is working exactly how it was programmed to do. And again, this is optional. I'm going to remove it. I just wanted to show you that you could use something like that. All right, I'm going to save that again. Let's get a summary of what you've done. You created a product service, which calls the RESTful API calls, returning back a JSON format, and use the product model to convert it into a more readable format. You created the product viewer page, which uses the layout builder to return back either phone, tablet, or web, according to the device, the layout. You created the product list, which shows a vertical list of products, also with search capability, calling the sticker header delegate from the shared package. You created the product details, which shows the horizontal scrolling list of network images and also details about the product. And you also created a change metric observer, which shows you different uses on how you could use this optional class. You also created the product list detail split screen page, which is responsible for showing the split screen layout for tablet and web layouts. Now, up next is our course summary.